Our beautiful and amazing listeners. Thank you for sticking with us, even though we took a gigantic hiatus. Thanks to yours truly. But we're back now for the Turn the Key podcast, where we look at Locke and Key and all its comic glory and not any of its other adaptation glories. You're joining us today as we dive into finally volume 2, Head Games, which, yay, the Head Keys finally gonna be introduced in this volume. Well, not specifically this chapter, but next chapter. So stay tuned, stay on the channel, subscribe, hit the little dingly thingy, and keep watching because we're about to drop the Head Key volume review.
All right, excellent, Cindy.
All right, so as we usually do, first things first is, what would you rate this introduction chapter? What's it called? The introduction.
No, that's the introduction in the book. That's the written introduction. This issue specifically is called Interlude. It's Head Games in Intermission. Intermission, yes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have a issue number, although when you look it up or get the individual issues themselves, this is referred to as issue 6 of the series. It's complicated if you're trying to do what we're doing, which is try and break them up one by one, and you're trying to piece together when one begins and the next one ends. But this one is technically issue 7, referred to as the intermission. And, of course, it's referred to that because the focus of this issue is on one specific character. And before we get into that, though, my rating for it is very good. It's probably a 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4?
Yeah.
Wait, 3 out of 5 or 3 out of 4?
3 out of 4.
Well, my rating for it is 4 out of 5.
Oh, a 4 out of 5.
Out of 5, because
maybe
this is a really good jump into volume 2, I think.
Or I don't know, maybe it is maybe it is a higher, like this is a very good, close to perfect issue, maybe, as far as like the things in here and even the things that it does by itself. It's a good little sort of one and done, and I'm guessing maybe the reason why it's referred to as the intermission and not a full chapter issue is, again, the fact that this issue is one of the first and few issues that there are no Locke kids in this issue.
True, yeah. Not a one, which is very interesting. But even though there are no Locke kids, the story is still really interesting and really involved. And that just, shows the amazing writing that goes into this
comic book.
No, this whole thing. Yes. So we start off with the first page with 2 kids having a picnic.
They're not really kids. They're clearly like
or like young adults.
They're in high school. So this is
teenagers.
Yeah, this is, I think, seniors in high school.
So 2 young adults, let's just go with young adults. 2 young adults having a picnic. The girl upset that this is, in fact, a study date and not just let's take off our pants and have wild sex in the park kind of date. And so she starts stripping and teasing the one that's trying to study, and she tosses her underwear at him in a very playful manner.
Well, now, who specifically are we referring to here? This is specifically anyway,
Next page we see the what would you call this? The cover?
No, this is the introduction page. It's not really the cover page. The cover is the covers in here are not included in the beginning of each issue. They're all collected in the back.
And as always, I love how Joe Hill like puts the title of the issue inside the world of the issue. So here the title is on a branch of a tree, and then on the tree you see like the names of the people that worked on the comic.
Yeah.
Kind of like how kids was get like write their like their loved ones or like their boyfriends or girlfriends on trees. So I thought that was really cute.
Well, it's actually a homage in a way to Will Eisner, who was a very famous comic book writer when he did his series The Spirit. Again, I've mentioned this before, but he would do the same thing when he introduced each story in The Spirit. He would hide the title within the story, like it would either be spelled out in bricks on a wall, or the hanging clothes on a line would spell out The Spirit, something like that, to be sort of unique and creative in a kind of metatextual way. And also, if you see in the back here, you see a sort of pool where the girl dove in, and it looks suspiciously like the well key. Also maybe symbolizing a kind of danger or entrapment that he might be falling for.
Ooh. A little tiny bit of a spoiler for the end of the issue. This moment comes back in a really interesting way. I'm not going to give my true feelings just yet, but it comes back in an interesting way, so keep this in mind. The boy starts to worry because the girl's not coming out of the pond, I think, that she jumped into, and so he's like, I'm like, Callie, where are you? It's like, I'm talking to myself, she's not even here, and he dives in to get her while also claiming that he's not a very good swimmer. And then we jump to the next page where we see the boy wakes up from the dream, and it was just a dream. He's an old man now, and he's wondering, where did the wife go? And we see a picture of a woman that we could assume is the woman from his flashback / dream, and we could assume that they got older and married.
And we also find out that this man is a teacher at the school that the Locke kids attend. Specifically, he, I guess, teaches literature, and specifically his area of interest is in Shakespeare.
And he's moping around because his wife is dead, which is tragic, obviously. But you can see that he's had a pattern, wake up, go to school, teach, come back home, sleep alone. But then something kind of snaps him out of his pattern when he notices, what is his name?
Dodge.
He notices Dodge.
God, you're as bad as he is. As he goes into the faculty lounge, and he could swear he recognizes him, and of course
he calls him a ghost. He says, "Ooh, it might be a ghost," because he looks so similar to back then Dodge, and he even has a bit of a flashback of Dodge hanging out with Tyler's dad and the other kids back in the day.
Yep, and also it's appropriate he keeps referring to these things as like ghosts of the past because, of course, he is obsessed with Shakespeare, and a common trope in many Shakespeare plays is ghosts, or the case of mistaken identity, and that plays into a lot of kind of what he's seeing here and where that's going to lead into. It could be easily said that this issue plays out very much like a sort of Shakespearean tragedy.
And he even calls the boy's name Luke from back then. And Dodge notices a little. He stops for a second, but he doesn't turn his face. And the old man says, well, obviously, if you hear your name, it would pique your interest. And this kind of drives him to try to figure out, who is this new kid Dodge? And he starts asking questions about him, following him around, and that's when he finds out that he's the quote unquote cousin. He claims to be the cousin of the coach.
Yeah, Ellie.
And he says that he's visiting her from this prestigious school where he was a fencing expert,
like a fencing,
champion.
fencing champion,
a fencing champion,
which
I would have like red flags all over the place, like teenage boy fencing like champions. Like,
what do you mean?
In this day and age, that's a little suspect.
In this day and age, you do know. I dabbled in fencing in college.
I know. In this day and age.
Oh, in this day and age,
that's a little suspect. I'd be like, excuse you, fencing what now?
Oh, okay. But as he sits here and contemplates it while looking out the window, we then get a transition with Ellie and Dodge as they sort of sit back at Ellie's place with Dodge calling her in to sort of discuss what's going on, and more specifically what needs to go on when dealing with this potential problem they could be having. And we also get a sort of brief glimpse at sort of his range of abilities. Maybe he's attempting to levitate on the bed there, but of course he's not able to really get much off the ground
before he starts bleeding out of his nose.
Which again, another Stephen King reference. That's a reference to Firestarter, where the main girl from that had powerful psychic abilities, and whenever she used them, she also would bleed from the nose, which again came up in the show Stranger Things. More people are probably familiar with that.
And also the older man mentions how that Dodge is staying with Ellie and how that makes him feel a little sick to his stomach, because he knew Ellie as a teenager, and even him as an adult knew and understood that she was madly in love with Lucas, and he knew that. And so being with someone that looks exactly like him, he understands that it's probably hurting her inside, not knowing that that is in fact him. So even though he doesn't have the full story, his emotions towards what he's seeing is kind of connected to the full story.
Yes, and as they go on and sort of keep discussing, it kind of moves to the kitchen, and we see this is the first time we really get to also see Ellie's son, who we find out is some kind of like autistic, or he's on the spectrum in a way that it affects sort of the way he even communicates. And we see that the way it affects him, he can't really perceive or understand things unless it's like
through his toys,
and specifically
through this game of war that he plays with his toys, which I found really interesting. I wanted to highlight how Dodge thinks Rufus he doesn't get it. He doesn't get anything. Yeah. But he's actually replying to him and his questions, but he's replying it by translating his natural replies. Like, instead of saying, hey, I understand you, could be like, Sergeant, I am catching all of your commands and I am relaying it to the squadron. And so that's just how he replies, and Dodge doesn't get it. And I think that's so adorable.
No, it's adorable, and it's also you're gonna see, in the rest of the story how that plays out, because his condition plays a lot of roles, because it makes it to where Dodge and everyone else completely underestimate him, and it also gives him this sort of awareness of things that other people aren't able to pick up on or even appreciate. Like in this, like down here on page 14, where he's specifically talking with his G.I. Joe and his cyber soldier robot man.
And he says, we've lost transmission, meaning that his mom and Dodge closed the door so they could talk in private. And that's cute. And then he tells his toys, he's like, I don't trust the new human. And then the toy replies like, he might be a replica. And that's
not just a replica, a replicant.
A replicant.
Which is significant because that's a Blade Runner reference. In Blade Runner, the androids that were made as slaves for working were called replicants, because they because the thing about them is they could see and mimic human behavior and human emotions, so much so that you needed Blade Runners, which were sort of like cop detectives who specialized in picking out replicants from humans. You needed an expert to be able to do it with a specific kind of test to do it. And so basically he's more or less sort of revealing to us that
he knows.
That not only that he knows, but also that this Dodge guy isn't just an evil human. He is something that is mimicking a human, but is actually not human. Mm-hmm. And we also get a neat little moment here where it shows him kind of tuning into TV, where it's some kind of I guess it's some kind of cop sort of it's not a scripted show. It's more like kind of like a editorial where it's a cop sort of talking about how, after they collect and seize all these guns, they have to store them in the evidence locker before they can go ahead and like melt them down and dispose of them, which is, a neat little kind of aside that even what he watches is all military obsessed. And, that'll play into this issue a bit later in an interesting way.
And then the next page, we see the old man looking through his collection of photos from back in the day.
His yearbook photos.
Yeah, he looks at his wife's photo and reminisces about how, he always thought he would die first because he's a heavy smoker, but she ended up going first. And then he turns into a picture of a group of performers.
Yeah, with where we then finally see his name there, Joe Ridgway. He is the professor to all the kids there who were putting on a play, The Tempest, for their senior year.
He talks about how 3 of the kids were missing and how it was a horrible event, and talks about how the play was, he says, magic.
And of course, this may not be immediately. You might not immediately know it if you hadn't read through the series the first time, but there is sort of a sneaked in cameo of many, many keys in this production.
Oh yes.
With the angel key, which is sort of a strapped on harness that if you plug it in, it gives you angel wings
and you could fly.
And then the
shadow key,
which he's clearly using to make different kinds of shadow creatures for the play, and
the Titan key, I think it's called
Hercules key.
The Hercules key,
which it's a necklace. You put the key in it, and then you gain like big rippling muscles, and then the Anywhere key, which they put on this sort of archway to, I guess, symbolize a backdrop to
to make it look realistic. I gotta say, as irresponsible as this misuse, I would say, of the keys is, it does show just how naive, yes, thank you. How naive about the immense power and danger the keys had, that the previous owners of the previous kids that had the keys, thought of the keys, that they understood that the adults wouldn't remember, so they just used it all around, even in front of the adults.
Well, I think
without so much as caring.
I think the plan here was kind of, one, it's in the form of a stage play, so it's possible that they might have just thought it was some sort of illusion or trickery. They could play it off as something they did.
I know they could play it off as that, but the fact still remains is that they took the chance.
Well, the second part of that,
they took the risk.
The second part of that is that this was their senior play, so it's possible that because they're it would be like a senior class or an older class of kids. Maybe they're right on the line so that within a year or two, they won't even remember the play specifically because of the influence of the keys' abilities. But they'll remember, wow, that play was awesome, right? I know, but what happened? I mean, I don't know, but it was awesome. I can't remember anything about it. Nobody took pictures, but I can remember it was an awesome play, and I think that might have been part of it too. They felt it was.
That. Yeah, I get that. I really do get it, but at the same time, it's still. Because we know what happened. It's like hindsight. You know, me and you, we know what happens in the later volumes, and we know the mistake that they made with the keys. And this play just shows how it was possible for them to make said mistake.
Mm. And of course, this then plays into more of Joe's personal kind of involvement and his kind of personal relationship, especially with the commissioner of students, I guess, who was again his lover, and then eventually his wife. And
he decides to go back to the school to look at the records and call the old school that Dodge claimed he was transferring from, and said, well, our records aren't complete. We're trying to make sure everything is what it is. And he asked about the student in the school, said, no, we've never had such student. And I think they even said we don't even have a fencing.
Yeah, we don't even have a fencing division or club.
We don't even have a fencing club. It's like, well, thank you for that.
Uh-huh.
Now I know my theories were correct.
Which again it's kind of one of those like kind of it's another sort of trope you get with Stephen King, where you have a minor character who pieces things together independent of the main cast, and actually could very easily like blow the lid off everything, and then of course, you know, if you read on, you know, you see how that works out with again him piecing things together, and then him sort of lamenting once again on his late wife Calliope, director of admissions.
He's considering whether or not to go to the police, whether to go to the dean, and how this will mess up the reputation of Ellie, and you know how she's helped so many kids and her son, and now he wants to give her a chance to explain, because he feels that she has something to do with it, that she's involved in type of an illegal manner. So he wants to give her a chance, an opportunity to explain it, and so he decides to go over to her house.
Yeah, of course, unbeknownst to him, Dodge secretly witnesses all of these going on, and actually he knows what really needs to go on next, and he then quickly ports back to Ellie's house to go over again that my suspicions were right. Ridgway called. Ridgway knows everything. We gotta act now. And of course, it's once again right in front of the kid Rufus. And again, Dodge doesn't care, because Dodge again thinks that Rufus doesn't know anything, can't figure anything out. And
I like this line where Rufus says, "Sir, we have a major disturbance at the front gates. Have you ever seen anything like that?" "No, never. Put it in the report." "That's a 10-4, sir." And that's just because Dodge used the anywhere key in front of Rufus, and Rufus like, what? Magic? But because, like, his disability, he could just say magic, and he's, like, has to speak in kind of like a military report. And that's adorable. Mm-hmm. And I find that adorable.
And again, it quickly sort of escalates with him deciding, if you're not going to help me, I'm going to take care of it myself. And she wonders, what are you going to do? And we see the payoff from that previous news report where the police officer is talking about, we got all these guns in the back here, and we just don't know what to do with them. And then he clearly opens a door into the evidence room to get all of those said guns that have been confiscated.
And then the mom, Ellie, says, "Oh, sweet fucking hell." And Rufus adorably replies, "Private, belay that language. We're among civilians." Oh, that's so cool. He's like, "Mom, language," but like in like a Rufus type of way. Mm. Oh.
And well, with all that cuteness aside, we go back to Joe's house where Joe's getting himself ready for a bath, and as he goes in there, then enters Dodge, who then you see him scheming with a plan. Possibly, I'll just get him to get this to make it look like a suicide attempt, and he quickly goes in the bathroom, confronts Joe in the bath, and sort of goes over kind of, I know you, you know me sort of thing. And Joe finally realizing, oh, I'm not crazy. You are him from back then. And that's when he tells him, it's nothing personal. It's just, nobody can know about me. And that's when Joe tries to fight back, and he gets brutally shot. Mm-hmm. And we get this sort of neat little bookend where it cuts back to him once again diving into the water,
into the lake when he was young. At first, when he's slowly dying, he starts to say, I need help, I need someone, I need you, oh God, I don't want to die alone. Where are you? When are you? Wait, what is it? Oh, when are you when I need you? Where are you, Callie? Where? And that's when he flashes back to when he dived in to get her from the lake, and it says, there you are. And that's where it ends.
Yeah, with a neat little sort of conclusion to our tragic tale where, again, much like many Stephen King books, the minor characters usually put things together, or the minor characters usually have some kind of way of getting our main characters out of their predicament. You think of like The Shining, you had the old man who at the hotel who was killed, who could have helped with the kid. You also have in Misery, you had the officers who were trying to find the guy who was being held captive in the cabin. Even in It, the one of the guys were trying to actually stop Pennywise, and got killed. So it serves a function of sort of raising the stakes. Like, this is not just a dumb evil villain. Like, this villain has
absolutely, things got really real by the end there. An innocent man dies for no reason other than he just has really good memory. And was it 50 some years he's been teaching, and 100 plus kids he's taught, he can remember the one that's like the most dangerous one. He remembers that child, and it just leads to his death. And even though it was a tragic end, the way that he went out, remembering that moment with his wife, is beautiful.
Very well then.
And that is the end of Intermission.
Yes. Chapter 1, issue 7, Intermission.
Quote unquote chapter 1. Because in the book it's not labeled as chapter 1.
Issue 7.
Well, issue 7.
Yes. The title is gonna be correct. We'll get it right in post.
Eventually.
Oh.
But yes, that was us coming back to do Locke and Key. So, obviously, we don't have to say, are you going to continue? Because clearly we're going to continue. We're in volume 2, so we're just going to blast through this thing.
Well, Cindy needs to get to that head key. Because that's when it really starts, is in that next.
And now is for everyone's not so favorite segment, my issues with the TV show. So, in the TV show...
Oh, so this is going to be a new thing? This is what we're going to end the last 30 minutes on, is Cindy's meaningless fangirl gripes about the show?
Because I have to say this. It is horrible how they gave the character Joe. You said his name was
Joe Ridgway,
the principal,
yeah.
or the teacher, not principal. Yeah. In the TV show, they just gave him kind of like a meaningless, pointless death, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit what the comic gave him, and the comic is beautiful, and it's this like tragic love thing, and it's cute, it's adorable, and then the show is just like, he's dead, bam, thank you, ma'am, moving on. And it just
look, they just didn't have time. They had to make room for that black kid with the 2 missing legs. They they had to make room for him. He was so important to the show.
To you, man.
Yeah, what did his contribution amount to? Basically, like, my man, like, high five, my man.
I don't even remember.
Exactly.
I don't even remember. Well, anyway,
yeah, that's for season 2, right? That's where they fix everything.
Okay, so my anger is done. I've said what I needed to say.
We'll wait until we get to more Rufus, right? You don't have any problems with Rufus.
Rufus! Oh, they ruined my baby. Well, anyways. Chill.
You ruined all your babies. Everybody in here is your baby. Even Dodge is your baby.
Dodge is... You know what? No, that's like spoiler territory, so we're not going to jump into that.
Who do you not claim as your baby in Locke and Key? Who is not your baby?
Tyler's dad.
Wendell?
Yes.
Wendell's barely even a character in there.
He really F's up big time, not just as a teenager, but as an adult, as a dad too. Like, he just kind of gets it wrong.
Oh, wait, you're telling me a Stephen King story or Stephen King tangential story that features a father character that does some some not so great things as a father? Get out. That's never been in any Stephen King story, Stephen King related story ever.
Everybody has daddy issues, apparently. It's just this is how they work on their daddy issues, through comics. Well, that's the end of our show. I'm so glad you guys are joining us and you're having all the patience in the world with me and my I'm not ready to record attitude. So tune in, because we're gonna, dump out another one.
Well, it should be easier since it gets more intense from here,
you know what? I'm gonna miss the quietness and the calmness and the smoothness of Volume 1. I know this is weird to say. This is like a weird thing to say, but like, I know it gets more intense and more like action-packed and more hyper. And so I'm just like, I got so used to the quietness of Volume 2, the setups, the calmness, the like characters having all this inner monologue, and then we're just going to be like, oh, action, bam, bam, bam.
Oh, okay. Delightful.
All right, see you guys later next time in another video. Again, subscribe and comment and tell me how you, for some reason, love the TV show and how I'm just a fangirl with too many issues.
Yeah, clearly, right? According to the internet, like, everybody loves this show. What's wrong with you?
I know, what's wrong with me? Oh, I need help.
Oh, clearly. Well, while I go and get Cindy some more help, you guys take care of yourselves and be sure to stay aware for our next time. Thank you.